Imagine a planet so revered that people would journey for generations just to touch its soil. A place where even the dust is considered sacred. But what if the reality was a polluted and overcrowded hive world, where billions struggle just to survive? That's Terra, the heart of the Imperium, but a place far more complex than most realize.
Terra is a fascinating contradiction. It's the most important planet in the Imperium, the home of the Emperor, countless institutions, and the ultimate pilgrimage destination. Yet it's also a world grappling with the dark side of its own legacy, full of layers of history, scars of devastating wars, and a society grappling with huge inequalities.
To understand Terra, we need to go back to its ancient past. It's more relatable to our own Earth than you might think. Fragmented records paint a picture of a world much like our own. Once a beautiful planet with legendary cities like Atlantis and Nova York, names that echo with a sense of familiarity and lost grandeur.
It seems Terra followed a similar path to Earth, consumed by progress and ultimately facing the consequences. Terra's natural resources were depleted, the environment suffered, and humanity spread across the stars seeking new horizons. During the Age of Technology, but even that golden age wasn't to last.
The Age of Technology collapsed into chaos, plunging Terra into a dark period of techno-barbarian warfare, which left its mark on Terra, literally. Scarred landscapes, buried ruins, and a sense of lost knowledge. That still hangs over the planet even in the 41st millennium. It makes you wonder what secrets are still hidden beneath those hive cities.
This period, the Age of Strife, set the stage for the Terra we know today, a planet shaped by conflict and loss. And from those ashes rose a figure who would change everything.
The Emperor. The Emperor's rise is like something out of legend, uniting Terra through the brutal unification wars, a period of sheer scale of conflict needed to reshape an entire planet. And to achieve this, he employed genetically engineered soldiers, forerunners to the Space Marines called Thunder Warriors.
The Thunder Warriors were a force of nature, both awe-inspiring and ethically questionable, reflecting the Emperor's often ruthless methods, driven by necessity perhaps, but ultimately bringing order to a fractured world.
It's hard to picture the grandeur of the early Imperium, especially when you consider the grim state of Terra now. I mean, imagine vast cities, soaring architecture. It must have been a sight to behold.
The contrast between the early Imperium and Terra in the 41st millennium is stark, and a key to understanding the planet. The Horus Heresy, a brutal civil war, forever scarred the planet, both physically and culturally, shattering the dream of a united humanity.
The Horus Heresy's impact on the Terran people was profound. Imagine living through that, seeing Space Marines, these superhuman warriors, turn on each other. It's no wonder they have a deep-seated fear of them even now.
The trauma of the heresy is woven into the fabric of Terran society. The legacy is everywhere, from the fortified architecture to the cautious whispers about Space Marines. And this leads us to life on Terra in the 41st millennium.
Life on Terra in the 31st millennium is this incredible paradox. A massive hive world, overcrowded, polluted, yet still holding this magnetic draw for billions. What is it about Terra that compels people to endure such hardship?
It's a complex mix of factors. On one hand, there's the spiritual pull. Terra is the heart of the Imperial Creed, the Emperor's resting place. For the faithful, even a glimpse of the Imperial Palace is worth a lifetime of hardship.
It's not just about faith. There's also the hope of a better life. The Ademptus Terra, the vast bureaucracy that governs the Imperium, employs billions. For many, joining its ranks is seen as a path to security, even if it means becoming a cog in a vast, often uncaring machine.
And that contrast between opulence and squalor is stark. On one end, you have the Emperor's Palace, which is more like a city than a building, housing unimaginable wealth and power. On the other end is the grim reality of the underhives.
The underhives are where billions toil in poverty. Their lives a constant struggle for survival. It's a microcosm of the Imperium itself. Incredible power concentrated at the top, built on the backs of countless, nameless individuals.
Terra is a world of extremes, a place where the grandest aspirations of humanity clash with the stark realities of survival. And to truly grasp this, we need to take a closer look at some of its most notable locations, starting with the heart of it all, the Imperial Palace.
The Imperial Palace is not just a building. It's a sprawling complex, a city within a city, housing the Emperor, the Adeptus Custodes, his elite guardians, and countless mysteries.
For most people, reaching the palace is a monumental feat. They journey for years, sometimes generations, just to stand before the Eternity Gate, a symbolic endpoint for pilgrims, representing their journey's culmination.
The Eternity Gate represents the culmination of a pilgrim's journey, but it's a symbolic endpoint. because only a select few ever actually pass through its doors. Most never get further than gazing upon it, a testament to their faith.
And then there is the Sanctum Imperialis, the Emperor's throne room, the most sacred space in the Imperium. Guarded by the companions, the elite of the Adeptus Custodes. To stand before the Emperor's golden throne is to stand at the very heart of humanity's destiny.
Thinking about the weight of history and power concentrated in the Sanctum Imperialis is overwhelming. But Terra isn't just about palaces and throne rooms. It's also home to vital infrastructure, like the Astronomicon.
Ah, yes, the Astronomicon, the beacon that guides ships through the warp. Imagine a psychic lighthouse, its light piercing the chaos of that other dimension, allowing for interstellar travel across the vast expanse of the Imperium.
The Astronomicon is a reminder that for all its might, the Imperium is incredibly fragile. If the Astronomicon were to fail, the consequences would be unthinkable.
It's amazing to consider that this one structure on this one planet is vital to the survival of a million worlds. And it's not the only vital institution on Terra. There's also the Fortress of the Inquisition, a constant reminder of the ever-present threat of heresy.
The Fortress of the Inquisition is hidden beneath the polar ice caps. It's a bastion of vigilance, a symbol of the Imperium's constant battle against the enemies within and without.
Terra is also home to so many other fascinating locations, like the Assassinorum Temple, shrouded in secrecy, the Navigator's Quarter, where those gifted with the ability to guide ships through the warp reside, and the dark cells, holding who knows what ancient horrors. It's like Terra is a tapestry woven from power, faith, mystery, and danger.
With all that danger, Terra must be incredibly well defended. It is the throne world, after all, the most heavily defended planet in the galaxy.
To understand Terra's defenses, we need to first look at Battlefleet Solar, the largest concentration of Imperial Navy warships anywhere in the Imperium. We're talking battleships, cruisers, countless smaller vessels, a force capable of shattering any invasion fleet.
Then there's the Phalanx, the mobile fortress monastery of the Imperial Fist chapter. They're the Emperor's own space marines, fiercely loyal and incredibly skilled warriors. Their presence above Terra sends a clear message to any would-be attackers.
It doesn't stop there. Multiple Imperial Guard regiments are garrisoned on Terra, each with their own unique strengths and traditions. The legendary Palatine Sentinels, known for their unwavering discipline, stand ready to defend the throne world.
They are joined by the Lucifer Blacks, masters of urban warfare, the Katana Stalwarts, unflinching in the face of any enemy, and the Terran Prefects, responsible for maintaining order within the Hive cities themselves. It's a multi-layered defense, encompassing every branch of the Imperial military.
Not to mention the Adeptus Custodes, those superhuman warriors dedicated to the Emperor's protection. They're a force unlike any other, each a master of combat, utterly devoted to their duty. And with the recent return of Robut Guilliman, the Primarch of the Ultramarines, the Sisters of Silence have been restored to prominence as well.
The Sisters of Silence, with their ability to nullify psychic powers, are a crucial asset in defending Terra from any warp-based threats. It is a formidable lineup, designed to repel any attack, no matter how overwhelming.
But there's also a psychological element to Terra's defenses. The idea of attacking Terra is seen as unthinkable to most within the Imperium. It's not just about military might, it's about the symbolic importance of the planet.
To strike at Terra is to strike at the heart of humanity itself. It's like this unspoken rule. But don't even think about it. Terra is untouchable.
Precisely, that perception, that aura of invincibility is a powerful deterrent in itself.
Terra is far more than just the capital of the Imperium. It's a world of contradictions, layered history, and immense power. But we've only just scratched the surface. I'm curious about the everyday realities of life on this incredibly crowded Hive world. What is it actually like to live there?
Imagine a planet where the very air you breathe is thick with pollutants, where billions are crammed into towering hive cities, and where the gap between the haves and have-nots is staggering. It's a place of extremes, with the opulence of the Imperial Palace at one end of the spectrum and the squalor of the underhives at the other.
Life for the average Terran must be a constant struggle with scarce food, cramped housing, and danger lurking around every corner. Disease is rampant. And I imagine the Adeptus Arbites, the Imperium's brutal enforcers, maintain order through fear and intimidation.
It's a bleak existence for many, but people still flock to Terra from all corners of the Imperium, drawn by the power of faith. For many, reaching Terra is the culmination of a lifelong pilgrimage, a chance to be closer to the Emperor, a beacon of hope in their lives.
Faith certainly plays a huge role, but it can't be the only reason I imagine some seek opportunity hoping to find employment within the Adeptus Terra, even if it means a life of drudgery as a low-ranking clerk in a vast, uncaring machine.
It's a twisted lottery where billions come seeking a better life, but only a tiny fraction actually find it, creating a powder keg of desperation, a breeding ground for crime, corruption, and unrest. The underhives of Terra are a seething mass of humanity, just barely held in check by the iron fist of the Imperium.
It's fascinating and a bit terrifying to think about the sheer scale of it all. Billions of lives, all intertwined, all striving for something, whether it's salvation opportunity or simply survival, playing out against a backdrop of incredible history that goes far beyond the age of technology and the unification wars.
Beneath those layers of conflict and reconstruction lie remnants of Terra's even more distant past, the legendary cities we talked about earlier, Atlantis, New York, consumed by time and war, buried beneath the ever-expanding Hive cities.
Their ruins are said to hold incredible secrets, advanced technology from a bygone era. Some even whisper that the Emperor himself drew upon these ancient technologies in his rise to power, which makes you wonder what else might be down there lost to history.
It's a tantalizing thought, isn't it? A testament to the depth of Terra's history, how it's a palimpsest of civilizations, each built upon the ruins of its predecessors. A planet layered with history, teeming with billions, a place of both immense power and desperate poverty.
We've talked about the oceans of Terra, or rather what used to be the oceans, now a mere shadow of their former selves, largely vaporized during the nuclear wars of the Age of Strife. A sobering reminder of the price Terra has paid for its progress.
The devastation is hard to comprehend, entire oceans gone in an instant. What remained eventually boiled away due to the immense heat generated by the Hive cities, forcing the Imperium to come up with drastic solutions to support Terra's population.
All water needed to sustain Terra's massive population is now brought in from the outer solar system, harvested from ice comets, and brought back to Terra to be melted and distributed. The logistical challenge is mind-boggling, a testament to the Imperium's capabilities, even in its state of decay.
Terra is home to many landmarks, places that truly define it. We've already touched upon the Imperial Palace, the Eternity Gate, and the Sanctum Imperialis. So there's so much more to see, like the Adeptus Terra complex, the heart of the Imperial bureaucracy.
The Adeptus Terra must be massive, a sprawling complex of departments and sub-departments, each dedicated to a specific aspect of governing the Imperium, where the truly unglamorous work of maintaining a million-world empire takes place.
It's a place of mountains of paperwork, endless meetings, and a hierarchy so complex it would make your head spin. At the center of it all is the Administratum, the largest and arguably most important department within the Adeptus Terra.
The Administratum, with its countless clerks, scribes, and bureaucrats, processes the endless flow of data, ensuring that the Imperium's gears keep turning a job that sounds both incredibly vital and incredibly tedious.
It is, but it's also a testament to the human element of Terra. Amidst all the grandeur and power, it's these ordinary people toiling away in anonymity who truly keep the Imperium running.
I can't help but think of all those pilgrims who journey to Terra hoping for a better life. Do any of them end up working in the Administratum lost in a sea of paperwork?
Many do. It's a common path for those who lack the skills or connections to rise higher within the Adeptus Terra. But even a lowly clerk in the Administratum holds a certain power, a small piece of the vast machinery that governs the Imperium.
It's all relative compared to the teeming masses in the underhives. Even a desk job might seem like a step up. But let's move on from the bureaucratic heart of Terra to something a bit more esoteric. Have you heard of the Forbidden Fortress?
The Forbidden Fortress is a mountain range honeycombed with tunnels and chambers shrouded in secrecy and guarded by the most elite warriors in the Imperium, home to the Astronomicon, that psychic beacon that guides ships through the warp.
Access to the Forbidden Fortress must be incredibly restricted. I imagine even members of the Inquisition, the Imperium's most powerful agents, require special permission to enter. It's a place of immense power where 10,000 psychers known as the Choir Astropathica sacrifice their life force to fuel the Astronomicon's light.
It's hard to wrap your head around the fact that 10,000 psychers are constantly channeling their energy into this beacon vital to the survival of a million worlds. A heavy burden, both literally and metaphorically speaking, to the sacrifices that are constantly being made to keep the Imperium afloat.
These psychers are essentially giving their lives for the greater good, their psychic energy consumed by the Astronomicon. It's both inspiring and tragic at the same time. But I can see why they would choose to make that sacrifice. The fate of humanity rests on the Astronomicon's light.
And if we're talking about defending humanity, we can't forget about the Fortress of the Inquisition hidden beneath the polar ice caps, a bastion of paranoia and vigilance with layers upon layers of defenses.
I bet the Fortress of the Inquisition has some pretty impressive security measures. Psyker dampeners, null fields, an army of inquisitorial stormtroopers ready to repel any intrusion. I can't imagine any heretic getting past those defenses.
The Inquisition is all about rooting out heresy, and they take their own security very seriously, which brings us to another place shrouded in secrecy, the Assassinorum Temple, where the Imperium's most deadly agents are trained.
Terra is like an onion, with layers upon layers of history, institutions, and secrets, and we haven't even touched upon some of the darker secrets. Like the Dark Cells, where the Imperium keeps its most dangerous prisoners and artifacts locked away for the safety of humanity.
The Dark Cells are a chilling reminder of the threats that lurk within the Imperium. But for now, let's shift our focus to the human side of Terra, a world of contrasts. From the grandeur of the Imperial Palace to the teeming masses in the Underhives, it's the people who truly bring a place to life.
We've talked about the institutions, the defenses, the history, but what about the pilgrims who travel for years, sometimes generations, just to reach Terra, the most sacred place in the Imperium? What happens to them when they arrive?
The pilgrim's journey is a testament to the power of faith. They endure unimaginable hardships, driven by the belief that reaching Terra will bring them closer to the Emperor to salvation. And they travel in vast throngs, their numbers swelling as they approach the throne world.
It must be an incredible sight, a river of humanity converging on Terra. But not everyone can fit within the Imperial Palace. What happens to the majority of the pilgrims who make the long and arduous journey to the heart of the Imperium?
Terra is a planet of limited space, even with its towering hive cities, and the vast majority of pilgrims never even set foot within the palace walls. They gather in the Eternal City, a sprawling urban area adjacent to the palace where they experience both the splendor and the squalor of Terra.
So we have these devout pilgrims filled with hope and awe, standing shoulder to shoulder with the desperate masses, the hive city dwellers who are just trying to survive. It must be a clash of cultures.
It is a clash of cultures that leads to all sorts of tensions. The pilgrims, often naive and unprepared for the harsh realities of Terran life, are easy targets for criminals and con artists.
It's heartbreaking to think about these pilgrims, some of whom have traveled for their entire lives, only to be met with disappointment, danger, and even death. They are also seen as a burden by some of the locals who resent their presence and the strain it puts on already stretched resources.
It's a harsh truth, one that speaks to the complex reality of Terra. It's not just a place of holy pilgrimage. It's a world of real people with real problems just trying to get by.
And those problems are amplified in the Underhives. We've talked about the poverty, the pollution, the crime, but what's it actually like to live in those teeming subterranean depths where the air is thick with industrial fumes and the constant din of machinery never ceases?
Life in the Underhives is a bleak existence, a world without sunlight where families are packed into tiny hablocks stacked one upon the other and the threat of violence is constant.
We talked about the Adeptus Arbites, but I imagine they're spread pretty thin, especially in the Underhives, leaving the citizens to fend for themselves against the gangs who rule the streets.
The Arbites are more concerned with maintaining order on a macro level, preventing large-scale uprisings and keeping the flow of goods and services moving. In the Underhives, it's often a case of every person for themselves, where gangs prey on the weak and violence is a way of life.
It sounds utterly brutal.
Yeah.
Yet there must be some sense of community, some kind of social fabric that holds these people together, some small glimmer of hope in the darkness.
There is a harsh, pragmatic kind of community born of necessity. People look out for each other, share what little they have, and band together for protection against the worst of the hive's dangers. It's not always pretty, but it's a testament to the resilience of the human spirit even in the face of such adversity.
Even in the darkest depths of Terra, there's still hope, still a flicker of humanity, which makes me think about those who toil away in the administratum. Are they any better off than the hive city dwellers?
While their lives may be less dangerous, they still face a monotonous and often soul-crushing existence. Their days filled with endless paperwork and bureaucratic procedures, a small cog in the vast machine of the Imperium.
The Officio Assassinorum, shrouded in secrecy, operates from the depths of Terra. Their headquarters a place of shadows and whispers, where assassins hone their deadly skills. And then there is the Navigator's Quarter, home to those with the mutant ability to navigate the warp.
Each location, each individual plays a role in the vast and complex tapestry that is Terra. From the highest echelons of power to the lowliest hive city dwellers, they all contribute to the story of this ancient, awe-inspiring, and troubled world.
As we conclude our exploration of Terra, we're left with this final thought. Terra may be a world of contradictions, a place of immense power and desperate poverty, but it is also a world of resilience, of faith, of an enduring spirit that refuses to be extinguished.